So just the fact that you're all in here, the temperature is rising rapidly, and I really appreciate your time. This is the biggest day of my business career, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, you guys. I'm you know, I got 5 kids, and I got to pay the bills and everything, and kind of one at a time through the years, you've all called me. I've not ever been a salesman. I've never had a sales staff, and I know you all do, and you have to work your ass off to get work and to get jobs and to make things work, and you're making work for us. I hold you in such high regard. You know, building a house is such a complicated thing to do. You know, so many thousands of things that go into making these houses work, and I just have so much respect.
There's a C
for
right
them.
there.
You know, I just want to take 1 second to say this is welcome to my home court. Okay, this is Clean Efficient Energy Company home court, and when I signed this lease 5 years ago, I pictured you being here someday, but I didn't really realize how tight it would be if y'all came. All right, and so thanks for putting up with that. I love this place because it's 1.33 miles from my house. It takes me about 30 minutes to walk, and when I can, I do, and I need that all I can at the age I'm getting to. So got 11 brothers and sisters. Everybody's healthy and productive and doing well, and you know, dad and mom, hardworking people. You know, Depression era parents. They just. I'm sure that a lot of you have the same kind of thing where you were frugal and you just tried to make things work the way that you could, and then everything turns out okay someday when everybody leaves the nest. I tell you about that because my mom always impressed upon it. You know, Dad showed us work. You know, he went to work every day early and came home late, and so I always appreciated that. But Mom was the one mentoring us, you know, through life, and she always made the point that I'll never forget. Life is hard for everybody. You know, rich, poor. You know, you got your struggles, and it's hard for you. Production builder, custom builder. I know you got things that are tough for you, and you know you probably got great things happening in your life, and I'm sure you got some challenges in your life. So I just always hope that I treat you right and say thank you for giving us the work. Where's my guys? Brighton back there. Brighton's been with me for about 6 months. He's a mechanical engineer from KU, and he worked with Westar at a plant over in Lawrence for a couple of years, and this looked great. And he's a musician, and he recently went to LA for a few weeks to give the voice a shot. You know, he sings some good country music, and that close. And Bear over here he's been a Raider for a long time. He started in Lawrence and then went into Omaha, where I come from. And the timing was just right. He's got his 4th little baby on the way now, and so he's a hard-working man, and he loves being an Energy Raider, and I really appreciate it because for all these years, you guys have just had my face into what you've been giving me to do. You know, just trying to keep up and not knowing if there was going to be more work in front of it. But having these guys has allowed me to spend the last couple months really trying to figure out what our problem is here. You know. We've been doing a great job preparing ourselves for the real. I'm sorry, too. That's probably not the last time. Preparing ourselves for what we have going on here in Kansas. It would be so easy if you were building in Scottsdale. You know, you could build everything so that, you know, hot goes to cold. Everything's trying to come into the house, so you just build the house against the heat. You know, we could be in Minnesota on the other side, and the heat exchange would be going the other way. You know, hot goes to cold, so the hot would be leaving the house, and that's what we've been dealing with. You've been building for this 9-degree winter. 1% of the time during the year, it's colder than 9 degrees. All right, so we gotta prepare for that, because if your people aren't comfortable, you know, your kids, your wife, you know, if they're not comfortable in the house, then you're not gonna stay in business to where it's gonna get around, you know. So you protect against the winter 9 degrees, and damn it, there's the summertime on the other side. It can be miserable and humid and just terrible, and that's 94 degrees. 1% of the time of the year it's hotter than 94 degrees. So we've spent all our time thinking about those 2 seasons, and there's a 3rd season I've come to be sure about, you know, this 3rd season, and it's come to my attention that people don't always know, not even builders don't always know, that they're not bringing in fresh air with the HVAC systems that they're running. You know, there's never fresh air brought into a house by your HVAC system. You have an 80% furnace. Yes, you have the makeup air that you need to have, but it's using the house air. Okay, so here we got winter, heat loss, hot goes to cold, and we're trying to trap those BTUs. Old school people, they say, you know, so we want to make it tight to keep that heat in, because it's wanting to get outside every day when it's cold. So we make the house tight, and then us old geezers say, geez, then you want us to add air. You know, what's the sense in that? We got the summertime when we're trying to keep the heat out. All right, heat gain. All right, we're trying to dump those BTUs out of the house with the air conditioner. Here we go, and it happens again and again and again and again, and you're doing a great job with that part. But I don't know that we're doing what we need to do in the spring and the fall. Okay, we got this 65-degree neutral kind of temperature that happens again and again and again, where there's no call for heat, no call for cold, you know, no call. So we don't even have the air circulating, which is what the HVAC system does, right? The HVAC systems, and I'm trying to get down to business here so we can get you out of here. So thanks for your patience with me, but we don't have any calls, so there's no circulation. So people are feeling no air movement. Ash, sorry about having my butt in your face. You're a good man. ASHRAE 55 gives us a lot of information about what it is that makes people comfortable in a house, right? It doesn't assure that if we do everything right that we'll get it there, but the temperature is going to make them feel, you know, the temperature is not exactly where it is. More so, it's the humidity and the airspeed during the spring and the fall that are going to kill us. There's no recirculation of the air. With our high efficiency furnaces in the wintertime, we have our PVC pipes bringing in oxygen so that high efficiency furnace can burn, right? So that it can make its heat to be sent out through the house. And then we have the other PVC pipe taking those chemical byproducts outside so that we don't have to breathe those things. We got a tight house. Wintertime, we're good builders. So, again and again and again, we get to this point in the spring and the fall where we've got no circulation, no airflow, and we got people feeling like we aren't doing a good job for them, okay? So, it's kind of the point, the reason that we're here today. On top of these issues here, we've got things in the house that don't need any oxygen, right? We got things in the house that don't need any oxygen, but we bring in people for a builder's meeting, and it totally changes things, right? So we're on the fly there. We're rolling with it on the fly. The people need the fresh air, and we need to eject bad air from the house. In addition to hot and cold, we need fresh air changes to keep people healthy. So a big win for the Chiefs. Big win for the Chiefs the other day. And was it at home or not? I don't know. Did anybody go to the game on Sunday? Was it away?
It was cold.
Cold. It was cold?
It was cold outside. I
Did-
didn't go to the game.
Did you, oh, you didn't go
I
again?
just know how cold it was.
You know, this is a cooler, and people put beer in here to keep it cold, right? And you come home after a fun weekend at the Chiefs game, and you have contaminants in here, you know, the empty beer bottles went in there and everything, and, when you get a little, when you've been there before, you know that you just cannot leave this lid on the thing or else it's gonna get real nasty, right? It's gonna grow mold just quick as, so just sure as can be, all right? So, we always put new ice in there to keep our beer cold, you know, we have to keep doing that, just like an air conditioner needs to keep taking heat out of the house in the summertime. And we're gonna talk about what we need to do about this third season, briefly here. We need to have airflow coming through the house. We need to have air changes coming through the house. Such a simple concept, but my problem is, and the reason that I'm not gonna go into more detail on everything, you guys, is this is an invitation for us to help you with the custom design of your mechanical ventilation system, okay? The code says that we don't need mechanical ventilation until we're under 3 air changes per hour. Some of you have gotten under 3 air changes per hour, and now we need to add in mechanical ventilation. But the biggest point that I'm here to make to you today is we need mechanical ventilation. We need these air changes under 5 air changes per hour. All right, and who says? ASHRAE is the standard that the codes are based upon. So, smart people with ASHRAE have determined that we need air changes in our house. Why don't we go back to the old day where the house was leaky? Because then we're cold in the winter and we're hot in the summer. All right? If we can do this right, and it is tricky to get mechanical ventilation correct, all right, then we're going to keep our people healthier. Their air is going to be fresher, all right? Outside air is always better than inside air. I don't know if anybody has a problem with that statement. Outside air is always better than inside air. Why? Because the air from the inside came from the outside, right? That's where it came from. So that stuff is in the house in addition to our byproducts from cooking, living, bathing, and all the other chores, hobbies, working out that we do in our homes too. We got a huge house, not as much of a problem, right? We got a small house, it's more of a problem. So it's all based on the size of the house and the number of bedrooms as far as how much mechanical ventilation you need. And we don't want to overdo it because we know that if we bring in the cold air, right, then it can make our people uncomfortable, especially if we just supply it to the house, to a space in the house. All right? In the summertime, we know there's a point where it's just so humid for a month or two out there that we have to be careful not to bring in more than we need. However, these smart people at ASHRAE, they say you still need the air changes per hour. Okay? So, that being said, you need the air change. I would think that you're all right there as far as needing some fresh air to come in here and come out in order to not grow mold in our cooler, right? So we've gotten rid of the leaks in the cracks. We've caulked the floorboards. Our windows aren't leaky. Those things used to dry out our house, and so we've gotten rid of them. We're comfortable in the summer and the winter, and we have that circulation of air. Spring and the fall, we need we would like that circulation of the AC system. So we have to right size our ACs in order to dehumidify, right? Now, some of you are so far ahead of me, and so thank you for being here and listening on this. I think it's the other switch. Mike's got it. There you go. No, this, I'm just looking to raise this thing
Oh,
up,
to
and
raise it
it
up.
does this, it does. All right. So, on the handouts that I've given you, while this is happening, I just want to take a second to say, George, thank you for calling me a couple months ago.
You're welcome.
And making yourself available in any way that I need it. Candace Long came from Texas after we met, and they came in and we talked about some things, and I just got really excited. And so, without you guys, I wouldn't have the impetus to get all these people here. So, thank you very much, and thank you to Brown for the spicy. Who spicy? Not spicy. Is there an age thing here? I don't know. But anyway, and all right. So the sheet that I've got here, the first page has our rating procedure. Okay. When I sent my email to you, inviting you to come over, there were a couple things. It was this spring and fall thing, this mechanical ventilation thing that really, I was starting to lose some sleep over because I don't like my people to not be comfortable, and it's going to come together kind of in a custom basis for all of you. But codes, what's changed in the codes? I think you've all found, like Lenexa requires a projection in advance. A lot of places require a projection in advance, and they didn't used to. So I just want to take some time to tell you what's going on there, what's changed in the codes. That in order to permit, we have to do a projection for you if you're going to do a HERS rating. And why do you do a HERS rating? I think it's because you don't have to do stupid things like put vinyl drapes on the basement if you don't want to. Maybe we provide a little third-party feedback on what you're doing. Hopefully our rough inspections give you a little feedback on how you can do things better, that kind of thing. But what the code people want, they've seeded some of the rough inspection that they used to do to the energy rater in this case. So what we're doing with our HERS projection in the beginning is you're giving us the plans, we're modeling it, and sending them a projection after we run it through our software to tell those code people, we got this, we're working with them on it, don't bother them on this. So we do this HERS projection saying that it's going to be the equivalent of the prescriptive method that they're doing on the other side, right? Everybody got that? So I would like for you to think about putting us to more use on the front end, on the planning end of it. Let's get mechanical ventilation figured out so that you're not waiting until you're under 3 air changes per hour, all right? If you're under 5 air changes per hour, you got to be having the air pass through the cooler, or it's going to be unhealthy for the people in there, okay? So let's design the mechanical ventilation so that you're not dreading being under 3 air changes per hour. Because ASHRAE says you need the mechanical ventilation under 5 air changes per hour, right? The code says you need, the national model code says you need to be under 3 air changes per hour with every house you build. Lawrence enforces that. Rod builds under 3 air changes per hour all the time. It's really tough to build a house that's a slab on grade small house, right? That's under 3 air changes per hour all the time because you don't have that basement to spread out. So with your unique plan, we're here to do what ifs for you, all right? And if you're not using us for that, I think the biggest thing that I've always tried to do is not be a pain in the ass for you. I've never asked you to come in here before, right? And I probably won't do it again soon unless you decide you want to do some training on particular things. Because you're on such different levels, I can't talk to this person because this person's somewhere else. So they have to be under 3 air changes per hour in Lawrence, and the rest of the places, the code people said, no problem, you can be under 5 air changes per hour. And then they call us out when we're under 3 air changes per hour that you don't have mechanical ventilation, so we have to add it in, right? And we find that there are really good ways to do that now, and there weren't really good ways to do that 3 years ago, all right? It costs money, right? And all this stuff. So I think that we could design this in, and we want our test to make a difference. We go in there and we do all this stuff for you, and you don't even know what it is. So if you come out of here caring and you want to do this, we'd like to get together with you in advance. I'd like to have you come in here where we've got our modeling software and show you the what ifs, or we can do it. I can bring you onto my computer from wherever you are, and we can go through things with the projection, okay? So, we get your plans, and there's not a lot on them a lot of times, okay? So when you send in the plans, give me some details on what you're thinking, insulation-wise, HVAC-wise, efficiency-wise, so that we can then come back at you. If you're gonna do foam insulation on the house, then you gotta do more mechanical ventilation. Foam, mechanical ventilation, okay? So, these things, we're spitting this out, call us for what ifs, all right? We'll go through that with you. A lot of times we don't get enough. We need dimensions, elevations, framing, and why do people go 16 inches on center rather than 24? You could save money, you know, if you go 24 inches on center. So, you know, we gotta keep asking ourselves on that, and keep looking for advanced framing, air sealing, windows, HVAC. All right, so it takes us time to put in that, to do that projection, and a lot of times you don't understand, you haven't understood, so you give me that, and then it's like, I need this in 10 minutes, you know, I need this yesterday. Which, thank God, we have the work, and if you don't care, we don't care. But if you do care, you know, give us time and let us go through the what ifs for you on it. The new mandatory mechanical ventilation, what is it, how much you need, what are the risks, rewards, okay? We have to do it by code, under 3 air changes per hour. ASHRAE wins in court over the code, okay? So while the code has relieved you of liability on mechanical ventilation, ASHRAE hasn't. ASHRAE says even when it's humid outside in the summertime, you still need that air movement through the house to get the contaminants out of the house. Dilute in with fresh air, eject the bad stuff out from the bathroom, the kitchen, the laundry, okay? So we need that flow through happening so mold doesn't, and things that lead to illness don't happen. So the other thing that's required is equipment sizing and efficiency rating. The funniest thing, Steve, is that Overland Park requires load calcs on every single house that you build there, right? But they don't take an energy rater at all. And then a lot of the other places, JOCO requires the load calc and the projection together, right? Leewood expects us to be doing manual J load calcs, all right, as a part of our process. It's a part of our process. Lenexa, Olathe, Shawnee, Casey Mo, Casey, Kansas, and Lawrence, those places all need projections, all right? So, equipment sizing and efficiency rating, these things we really need as a part of our projection, but we can get by without that. But I think that you can save some money with the size of your HVAC units, have an air conditioner that dehumidifies better, that circulates more in the spring and the fall. The shame with the high efficiency furnace is variable speed high efficiency furnace. Most times they're oversized and they never get used in their higher two settings, okay? And then they don't have the airflow in the setting that they're running at all the time. So sizing is very important, and we want to do that for you as a part of our deal. Costs a little bit of money, you know, depending on the size of the house, but we'd like to do that. And then if you have multiple blends, maybe we do it once and you know, but we need your buy-in to tell your HVAC guy that that's too big, all right? It's one of the big reasons that we're having problems with dehumidification in the spring and the fall. The air conditioner's just not running, it's not removing, and it should be, okay? So, we do it because it has to get done in the past. We want to do it in the future because we're going to make a difference. We're going to make it half a size smaller so that it dehumidifies. So, one of the things that we do for dehumidification, size the thing right, and that happens with a manual J-load calculation. Inspections, what are we inspecting for? We're inspecting for ResNet consistency right now. And we always give your supers the best practices, you know? But we'd like for our inspections to be more your brand and what you're trying to get out of it, and we'd like to know what it is that you want from it. If we just keep going the way that we are, then we are so thankful for the work, you know? But I'm getting on and I want to make a difference for you, and I want to be, so I'd like to be more involved in the planning if you're open to letting me do that. So our inspection should be, we should be the independent third party that tells your HVAC guy that is the equipment's oversized or the ductwork is too leaky. The insulation guy, when they're not doing a good work, we should be telling them, not you, right? It's the insulation guy that you want to have that do right. Grade 1 insulation, do all of you ask for a grade 1 installation? That's what you say to people. You say you want a grade 1 installation, and you're telling us that, and then we can enforce that for you. We don't know what kind of deals you have with your subcontractors, right? We don't know what kind of deal you have with your HVAC guy, your insulation guy. So you tell us, and we want to do what you want us to do. If it's just code minimum and cost avoidance, we can do that. Your standards, Energy Star, Kevin Stallings. Energy Star, Indoor Air Plus, WaterSense, Zero Energy Ready Homes, National Green Building Standard, okay? These are all things that have checklists as a part of their work. So when you go Energy Star, what happens is we're making sure that you don't have any callbacks with the little things that can cause callbacks. There are checklists that come with each of these, and I'm going to send you an email after this so that you've got all the links you need for any of the things that I talk about, okay? But on there, I want the Energy Star Indoor Plus is kind of this indoor quality thing that we're talking about. It's akin to the Energy Star for indoor quality. WaterSense for saving water. What your customers want to buy, you know. Zero Energy Ready Homes has just great marketing, and this stuff is all on the Building America Solutions Center website, and I'm going to get that to you along with links to the things that I think that I see a lot that can be improved around here. So checklists that what do we do in our rough inspections for? Final test out, ResNet National Mortgage Standards. That's what we follow. And they have, the codes always supersede our ResNet standards. ASHRAE supersedes the codes. So those are the things we're doing at these final test outs. Mandatory code assurance. We're taking pictures, duct tests, building tightness, blower door tests, house pressurization, light bulb and appliance count. All right, so we've got an infrared camera that we could use in the winter time if you want us to do that, because the difference in temperature it's the best kind of pictures can take place in the winter time. So, this being said, over here, we've got the ASHRAE standard, which is kind of the biggest thing in addition to right-sizing our air conditioners. The ASHRAE standard defines the roles and minimum requirements for mechanical ventilation systems to provide indoor air quality. The goal is indoor air quality, okay? But you can do everything right and we can still have problems. There are things that are out of our control when we're building the house, and you know that, okay? Homeowners do funny things in a house. What we have to do is know that we can't control everything, and our customers, our homeowners aren't going to be happy. And if we can please the toughest customer, we're going to stay in business. Has always been my philosophy. But what we do have to do is we do have to supply the capacity for mechanical ventilation. So don't build a house and then wonder if you're gonna need to do a part of the production, right? I do think that it is gonna be something that you can add into your marketing and everything. And what you're doing is you're setting up a mechanical ventilation system that has an off switch for your customer, okay? So that they can turn it off if they want to. Let's say there's an extreme outdoor event where I'd be turning mine off, all right? Honestly, I have an ERV that I've had for 4 or 5 years, and I turn it off when it's January and August and early September, because it just can't handle it all. But we have the mixing with the other thing. But you have to provide the capacity, and I'll tell you how much here in a second, and you have to allow them to turn it off. And then you also should have a sign on it. You should have a label on it. Everything that's hooked up with the mechanical ventilation in the house, this controls the ventilation for the home. Leave on except for severe outdoor contamination. So you put that sign on it, and then somebody who cares in the house is gonna make sure that it's back on after it's been turned off. But you give them the opportunity to turn it off, and you give them a reminder to turn it back on, all right? Because it is good sleeping when you get good fresh air, all right? Good fresh air when you're sleeping comes from some filtration. Let me just real quickly say, before I turn it over to Candace and Long of Throne, that how much are you supposed to supply? Well, I've had my head in the 62.2 2016, the newest version. The one from the 2012 code was 2010. And what I find in code enforcement, what these people are doing, they'll stick with 2010, 2013, 62.2. 2010, there was less mechanical ventilation needed. 2013, there's more mechanical ventilation needed. 2016, there's even more mechanical ventilation needed. But I figure that they're good, smart people who want you to succeed, and that so here are the numbers. There are charts for these things, and you're gonna have charts when you walk out of here of how much mechanical ventilation you should have. But this is the fresh air coming into the house to dilute the bad stuff. Continuous bath exhaust fan can be a part of your mechanical ventilation. Continuous kitchen can be a part of your mechanical ventilation. So you're ejecting the bad stuff and you're bringing in the good stuff. You can go with an intermittent amount at a higher rate. Intermittent rate at a higher rate. We want them to be quiet in this thing so people don't turn them off too, so that they're not annoying. So this is really important. If we right size the air conditioner, and if we provide the right amount of mechanical ventilation, so that we've got some flow through in the house, so that the germs can't build up and the bad stuff can't build up, we may still need dehumidification. When do we need dehumidification? The studies show that the smaller homes need more dehumidification than the larger ones. So it's just something to get an eye on, okay? What you're gonna find, Candace and Long are gonna introduce some really great ideas, but we can hook our mechanical ventilation up to thermostats, humidistats, so that they don't run at the worst time of the day, all right? So that there's a timer on there, so that they run at their 20 continuous, and then when a person walks into the room, it kicks up to 50 CFM or higher, depending on what we need in the house. So we add these things up to get our mechanical ventilation. There's supply ventilation, there's exhaust ventilation, but the best kind of ventilation is an energy recovery ventilator. All right, I gotta tell you, unless you're hooking up a dry 90 or 120 or something to it, an ERV it's just not smart to go with an HRV when you got an ERV at such a small incremental price higher. Because what the ERV does is it's balanced, okay? So it brings in that fresh air for the people and it ejects the stale air in the house, okay? In equal amounts, so it doesn't make the house positive or negative. It tempers the moisture coming in the summertime. It doesn't let as much come in, as much humidity. It's not a dehumidifier. The ERV, energy recovery, is not a dehumidifier. It just keeps some of the humidity from coming in. Comes in and sends it right back out. And in the wintertime, you know dryness is a problem, so what the ERV does in the wintertime is it keeps some of the moisture in the house. Okay? So it works just perfectly for you as far as providing the mechanical ventilation required. It keeps some of the humidity out in the summertime, keeps some of it in the house in the wintertime. So the ERV is the best way to mechanically ventilate your house. It's still good to eject the stuff from the kitchen, from the bathroom. We can do everything right, but we gotta have coming off of our bath exhaust fans, because that's where most of our moisture. This is in bathrooms with showers, right? That's where it matters with bathrooms with bathtubs. So we gotta eject that moisture out of the house because it's tight and it's just not gonna dry. All right. So we gotta have straight. Keep it kiss is what somebody said. Coming off of that exhaust bath fan, you need a straight run for 4 duct diameters. Okay, so if it's 6-inch duct, then it needs 2 feet. All right, 4 times 6. So anyway, we gotta have it straight coming right off for that distance, and we still don't want any 180-degree bends. Okay, but it happens all the time to all of us. So I think that's because the electrician is trying to go the shortest wire run to the thing or something. I don't know. Or they don't know where it's going to end up going on. But always with flex ducts in general, flex ducts are supposed to be stretched and held stretched for a minute so that we take out those ridges in it. Because if it's not smooth, then as much air doesn't go through it as it can. Okay? So we have to stretch flex ducts. Even our flex ducts in the attic that are there, they're supposed to be, you're supposed to have 2 guys, one stretching from here and one from, but it just doesn't happen. But just so you'll know, that's when you're getting your money's worth, when they do it, okay? So, one more big thing that I feel like I want to say to you is, there's unventing of attics going on, okay? Unventing of attics, I didn't know what could be wrong with, but it is wrong to unvent an attic when you don't put that same insulation value on the roof deck as you do on the attic floor. Okay? So if somebody sells you that foam is magical and you can get away with a lower R value by spraying the roof deck with foam, you can't, because you've even got more surface area on that roof deck than you did on the attic, okay? You're gonna have that exchange. If it's open cell foam, I would never put open cell foam on my roof deck because it's open and it just drinks in the moisture, and so there's something called the ping pong effect. But to keep a long story short is closed cell foam, and make sure you get the R value to 38 and if you're gonna unvent your attics, okay? Don't let them sell you lower R value, because I don't want you to have problems, and I just don't want the liability myself either, okay? So, all that being said, does anybody have any questions for me on that stuff? I really, because you're all in such a different place, I've got some questions for you on here, and I'd like for you to take the handouts and take it back to your desk and put it on your to-do list to just go through that, and just call me when you kind of want to, when you're ready to have me come over and see you, or when you want to come over here and see me, okay? Because I really would like to, probably, I have just been following you. You know, I've been supporting you and trying not to be a pain in the ass. And whatever you can't figure out from an energy efficiency standpoint, I want to help you.
So with like an ERV or other possible sources of fresh air ventilation, does that reduce the load required on the heating and cooling equipment?
It can increase it.
Oh, it can
Can.
increase it. Oh.
So it's
Well, yeah,
complex.
I mean, you could use a smaller unit.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So if you're using a dehumidifier, you're going into the supply and you're bypassing the coil, okay? Which
Right.
condenses and removes the humidity. With the ERV or supply into the return duct, then it's gonna go through the air handler, all right? And it's not gonna reduce the cost, it's gonna raise the cost, but a lot of things raise the cost that make it better, so that's important. Now, let me tell you about this. Recently we had some houses in Olathe that get busted for being under 3 air changes per hour, so we went to considering our options, and the 3 builders chose different things. So if we don't know these things, we don't know these things, but whatever you choose, it could also raise or lower your HERS score. All right, so just adding a mechanical ventilation fan is really a cheap way to do it. It's the quickest, easiest, cheap way to do it. Now, and it's what I've always recommended, because people didn't want to spend any money on it ever when it happened. So I worry about the negative pressure in the house, pulling in humid air from the outside, condensating on the inside of our walls, okay? So I'm less likely to be excited about just the exhaust-only method. Then there's the supply method where we bring in the air to the return. And recently, one of them got hooked up to an air handler that had a PSC motor on it, right? So it didn't have an ECM motor on it. So it's costing 400 watts, 300, 400 watts, okay? So then another did a smart drone thing here. And you're gonna find that this FIN 180, we've hooked it up into a home recently, and real happy with I think its potential to do well. Very low watts. It has its own ECM motor, so it's okay that has its PSC motor. Now we hook up this sucker. It's up to $400, something like that. But I hope that you'll downsize your equipment so that it dehumidifies, and use some of that money for mechanical ventilation. I hope that works out for you. But we'll try to figure out how to make that happen. So, what else? Anybody?
What are you seeing on new codes going on? Any changes to new codes or?
Okay, really, I think, what I talked on here, it just, if we can go this course, then we're within code. You know, you got Shawnee doing something different than Kansas City, Kansas, and wherever. If we just do the energy ratings, then you can have a lot of flexibility, and while this stuff always applies, we'll try to tuck that in. But I think that all these guys use an energy rater, so we can get there together. Just on the course we've been on, I don't see anything. The only thing that's really disruptive is having to do projections in Lenexa, you know, and Shawnee and Olathe. So that's the big thing.
Oh, good.
All right, Maglio. It took longer than I meant to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Mike Meglio with Meglio and Associates. We're the Brown Reps. I don't need a lot of introduction there. I want to get Candace and Long up here, and you guys can kind of start your thing. I'm not sure how to get this started here, though. Long, what do we gotta do?
Candace is the Southwest Construction Manager, and Long is the area manager. Long since our pricing and everything like that. Candace has a pretty large territory, and she's basically involved in the RVs and fresh air in and out and that kind of stuff. That's where she spends most of her time.
I wonder if this has